Welcome to FARview, the podcast series of the Foundation for Auditing Research. In this podcast, we interview academics and professionals regarding the practical relevance of academic research in the field of auditing. The Foundation for Auditing Research is an autonomous institute focused on developing and disseminating scientific knowledge concerning audit quality in the Netherlands. FAR pursues these objectives by facilitating relevant and rigorous academic research through a unique collaboration between academia and audit practice.
Well, dear listeners, today we're speaking with Xiaoxing Li from the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. Is that the way it should be said right now? It used to be VU University Amsterdam and all kind of different things. Do you know what the formal title now is?
Yeah, it's VU Amsterdam, right?
Okay. Okay. That changes all the time. So,
okay.
Maybe to start off, Xiaoxing, could you tell a bit more about your background, maybe, that people who don't know you get to know you a little bit better, and maybe how you ended up in the auditing area, and also how you because you also lived in Great Britain, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, kind of a short life story, maybe.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me. My name is Xiaoxing Li. I'm now a PhD candidate at Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. At the same time, I'm also a FAR PhD student. I'm originally from China, and I did my bachelor in China and my master in the UK. So after that, I started my PhD study at VU from April last year. So now I am at the second year of my PhD trajectory. So my research, my broad research area is behavioral auditing, and I'm generally interested in judgment and decision-making in auditing. Specifically for my PhD dissertation, I'm currently focusing on investigating the effects of audit data analytics on auditors' professional skepticism. So my specific interest in auditing is generally a result of my general interest in accounting. So when I was choosing my college major, I found I was very interested in business and economics related subjects. And after careful consideration and some other reasons, I decided to study accounting. So auditing was one of the courses at my university curriculum. So that was my first time learning knowledge about auditing, and I found it was a very interesting subject. And after my bachelor study, I chose to go to the UK for my master. So there I also did a master of accounting at the University of Bath. So that is also the time I started to become interested in accounting research, particularly behavioral accounting research. So during my master, I read many papers from the literature, and I found my enthusiasm in research. So I decided to do a PhD. Well, since I did my master in the UK, so the initial plan was to also continue my study there. But the process of applying for a PhD in the UK was not very easy because there were very limited positions with fundings provided there. So for pragmatic reason, I started to look for other positions in other European countries, and the Netherlands was one of them. So then I found a position posted on the VU website, which perfectly matched with my background and my interests. So I applied very quickly since the deadline, the application deadline was approaching. But luckily, I got interviewed and finally got this position. So yes, just a short story about some background information about me.
And who are your supervisors?
I work with Anna Gold, professor of auditing at VU. And I also have a second supervisor, Joseph Brassel, at the North Carolina State University. specifically for my first project, we now also have Justin Li from University of Illinois at our team.
That sounds impressive. Okay, we've decided to discuss mainly your recent article in MAP, we call it in the Netherlands, MAB. The title of that is Behavioral Challenges to Professional Skepticism in Auditors' Data Analytics Journey. I think that's kind of a broad literature study of what you're interested in, right?
Yeah.
So maybe to start off, what is audit data analytics?
A general accepted definition of audit data analytics is the definition offered by AICPA, which says that the ADA is the science and art of discovering and analyzing patterns, identifying anomalies, and extracting other useful information in data underlying or related to the subject matter of an audit, through analysis, modeling, and visualization for the purpose of planning or performing the audit. So this is also the definition of ADA adopted in this paper. So this definition is quite comprehensive because it includes various aspects and various techniques and audit areas. So to simplify, generally speaking, ADA I think include various techniques that help auditors to analyze the data and help them with the audit tasks.
So, but then we already do that with analytical procedures. How does that relate to analytical procedures?
Yes, so one promising area of applying ADA is actually during the analytical procedure and also in the literature and also in the related standards. Analytical procedure are usually regarded as a predecessor of ADA. So we can see that applying ADA actually can be regarded as an extension of more traditional approaches to analytical procedures.
And why is it so important, ADA?
So yeah, first, I think it is important because audit firms around the globe have invested a lot of money to ADA. And we expect that ADA will bring many potential benefits to the audit practice. Specifically related to those data analytics, it's usually facilitates auditors to incorporate larger and more complex data sets and also data sets from various sources. So with those more complex and diverse data, auditors can gain deeper insights into the client data and also have better understanding of the client's business and environments. So with that, we expect that ADA will improve the judgment quality of auditors. Also, we expect that ADA is important because it can help auditors to do some tasks, especially which are repetitive in nature, so that auditors do not need to do those tasks manually. Instead, they can automate those tasks. So with that, auditors do not need to exercise effort and time to do those automated tasks. Therefore, they will have more resources to do more complex tasks, such as in the complex accounting estimate area, or to engage in more skeptical actions, such as investigate the evidence inconsistency identified. So,
are these potential theoretical possibilities, or how far is this already reality? You say,
well, yeah, it is those expected potential benefits. And regarding the current reality, I think this really depends on the types of the ADA. So there are various types of ADA techniques, and there are more fundamental basic ones such as data visualizations, which auditors are more familiar with. And so I think for those fundamental techniques, auditors may have already frequently used in practice. But for more advanced ADAs, such as machine learning, deep learning, or some other fancy stuff, those techniques may not have been fully utilized in the audit practice. And also there is evidence from the literature showing that, well, although using ADA is highly emphasized by the audit firms, the current application in the audit practice is not very mature as expected. So there are still many barriers to the fully use of ADA in practice.
Mm-hmm. And is this mainly a thing that the big four firms are doing, or do you see that broader than that?
I think that is a general trend in the audit practice, not only big four firms, but also smaller, media or smaller firms. So for big four firms, they may have their in-house development team. But for the smaller ones, they may not have the resources to build in-house data experts. They may instead to buy some softwares developed by other companies, or even outsource the data analytic part. So, but yeah, there's little research about this. So just some anecdotal evidence, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, you explicitly link it in your PG thesis, the ADA to professional skepticism. Maybe you can tell a bit more why that is so important and why it has your attention.
So, well, professional skepticism is important as emphasized by audit firms and also in the standards. And professional skepticism is generally referred to as an attitude of a questioning mind and a critical assessment of audit evidence. So it is very critical to audit quality. So in my PhD projects, I'm interested in examining what are the effects of using data analytics has on auditors' professional skepticism. So our expectation is that when auditors using data analytics, they can include more complex and diverse data into the testing so that they will have better understanding of the client's data and their business. So they will have better judgment quality. And according to the literature, when auditors' judgment quality becomes better, they are more likely to act skeptically. And also from the other side, we expect that if ADA improve the audit's efficiency, which means that the speed at which auditors can identify those evidence inconsistencies becomes faster, they will have more resources to engage in the skeptical actions, which are basically their investigations of those evidence inconsistencies. So from either aspects, we expect that using ADA will improve their application of professional skepticism.
Yeah. In your MOP article, you discuss five behavioral challenges for skepticism, and they which are created by ADA. It's probably good to give a short summary of all five of them. The challenges.
So, we talked a lot about the potential benefits of using ADA to the audit practice, but research also shows that ADA may also bring many challenges to the application of professional skepticism. So the aim of this literature review is to discuss and inform the audit practice about those potential challenges created by ADA to the application of professional skepticism. So in this paper, I discussed behavioral challenges from 5 perspectives, including auditors' attitudes toward ADA, data characteristics, and anomalies identified by ADA, auditors' mindset when using ADA, and social context and interactions involved in ADA practice.
Mm-hmm. And shall we, do a short summary of each of them? For example, the attitudes.
Yeah. So under these points, I was mainly arguing that auditors should take an appropriate attitude toward ADA. So that is, they should neither over-rely nor under-rely on ADA, because both under-reliance or over-reliance on ADA may impair the appropriate application of professional skepticism. So research has shown some evidence that auditors may take inappropriate attitude toward ADA, such as under-rely on artificial intelligence compared to the advice get from human experts. And also psychological literature provides possibility of over-reliance on technology, although the existing auditing literature has not yet provide direct evidence. So I think it is critical for auditors to adopt an appropriately balanced attitude toward ADA.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the basic main points of this.
Yeah, what I found very interesting, you were talking about algorithm aversion, for example. Maybe you can tell a bit about that.
Yeah, so algorithm aversion is generally referred to as when auditors receive evidence inconsistency from an artificial intelligence, which is called the system experts, compared to from a human expert. They are likely to suggest smaller adjustments to managers' assertions. So because they perceive those systems, this artificial intelligence is less capable of doing those subjective tasks compared with humans. Mm-hmm. So yeah, even a more important result finding of this research is that auditors may even increase their reliance on managers' assertions under this situation. So in these information competing environments, they reduce their reliance on technology, but instead they increase their reliance on managers.
Yeah.
So that is a negative consequence of their to their professional skepticism, so to say.
Yeah. Okay, the second challenge is data characteristics. So that's about reliability and relevance, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So data characteristics may influence auditors' interpretation of audit evidence obtained from the ADA. So also potentially distorting the appropriate application of professional skepticism. So here I talked about 2 aspects, which are data reliability and data relevance. First, under data reliability, I discussed about data sources and the level of data being structured. So for the data sources, so ADA potentially include more external data from multiple sources compared with traditional audit approaches. For example, they can include more industry data from third-party data providers, or they can even include big data from social media platforms. Fortunately, those external data are usually perceived as more independent and reliable. So the audit evidence that obtained from those external data may be regarded as being of higher reliability. But on the other side, the related controls regarding those external data may be perceived as insufficient and ineffective, so potentially reducing the reliability of audit evidence from those external sources. So the uncertainty is that even though ADA can incorporate external data from multiple sources into the audit testing, whether it can really enhance auditors' evidence assessments and evaluation, and hence their professional skepticism, is actually uncertain. And second is about the level of data being structured. So ADA also increased the possibility of incorporating unstructured data into audit testing. So not only include the structured such as structured data, such as the journal entries, the financial statements. Some unstructured data can also now be included into ADA testing. Especially some unstructured data could be especially powerful in revealing rich information, capturing nuances in personal emotions or motivations. So this source of information is actually very valuable to the audit testing. However, those unstructured data are inherently more ambiguous and hence open to multiple interpretations. So even though auditors find evidence inconsistencies in those unstructured data, maybe it is very challenging to find reasonable explanations for those fluctuations in those kind of data. So this is also uncertain whether incorporating unstructured data into ADA will actually increase auditors' professional skepticism. Another point is about data relevance. So although more and more data can be included into ADA, well, not all data available are highly relevant to the audit. And also because the literature shows evidence that's actually including irrelevant or weakly relevant data may actually impair auditors' judgments and decision-making, especially the application of professional skepticism due to the potential dilution effect or averaging effect. From this aspect, I think even though auditors can incorporate larger and more complex data, they should be careful in monitoring the level of reliance of those data when doing their audit testing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know how in practice they check the relevance of the data sets? Do you have any idea how that works?
No, actually, I really want to know about this, but now I don't have some knowledge about this.
Will that be part of your dissertation as well?
I'm not sure.
That will be a really, really big dissertation.
Yeah.
With many chapters.
Yeah, maybe a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Then there's a series of anomalies, right?
Yeah.
What is an anomaly? Maybe tell us about that first.
So anomalies mainly refers to the evidence inconsistencies or exceptions or red flags identified in the data. So those anomalies potentially indicate higher risk of material misstatement. So when those anomalies are identified, auditors are expected to further investigate and understand whether those anomalies really indicate some problems. So with ADA, because ADA incorporates more data into the audit testing, the number of anomalies identified is also likely to increase dramatically. However, due to various reasons, such as budget constraints and the cognitive resource constraint, it may not be possible for auditors to investigate all the anomalies. So also investigating all anomalies is likely to induce information overload, which also potentially leads to suboptimal decision-making. Besides the anomalies, actually there are also larger number of false positives in those anomalies. So false positives are those items or relationships identified as potential anomalies, but after further investigation, they are determined to be reasonable and explain variations in the data. So if the false positive rates are high, it may actually reduce auditors' motivation to further investigate those anomalies. So that is another negative aspects of the ADA potentially on auditors' professional skepticism.
Well, what can you do about it?
I think the fundamental solution is to further improve the ADA to reduce the false positive rates. But since this process is going to be complex and take some time, so I think for now we can investigate some behavioral interventions that can be used to improve auditors' professional skepticism when they use ADA with higher false positive rates. So one solution provided by one of Joe's paper is to reward auditors for their application of professional skepticism. But that measure does not always help. It helps only when the false positive rate is not very high. So I think future research is also needed to investigate more possible solutions for this problem.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But there are also false negatives.
Yes, false negatives, although with ADA, because ADA can incorporate more and more data, the false negative rate of using ADA seems not likely to be high. However, the size of the data set is not necessarily positively related to data completeness and data quality. So there's still possibility that some relevant data fail to be included into the ADA for audit testing. But because ADA's capability of incorporating larger and diverse data sets, it may create an illusion that the output of ADA is free of misinformation. So if this kind of, if auditors are likely to perceive like this, it will impair their motivation to seek more information and potentially impair their skepticism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the fourth behavioral challenge, that's about mindsets. At first I was wondering what's the difference with the attitudes. So maybe you can say something about those concepts. And what do you mean?
Yeah, so for the first point, attitude, I was mainly focusing on the attitude when adopting ADA or even before adopting the ADA. So it was like, how do you think of this ADA? However, the mindset here is more about when auditors using ADA. So now they have already accepted ADA and they decided to use it. But they can have different mindsets at this stage. So it is very important that auditors adopt appropriate mindsets because mindset can influence their judgment quality. And there is indeed one paper investigating auditors' mindsets so they investigate the growth mindset versus fixed mindsets to auditors' ADA decisions when inspection risk is higher versus lower. So, but there is still limited research on how auditors' assessment and evaluation of evidence is influenced by mindsets. But prior research in other auditing area have extensively investigated many pairs of mindsets, such as implementive mindset versus deliberative mindsets. So I think some implications can be borrowed from there, but since ADA is a different practice and have different characteristics, so maybe some more specific research to the mindsets when using ADA is still needed.
So what's the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset?
So a growth mindset, so people with a growth mindset usually believe that the people's ability is not fixed. It can actually be improved if you learn from your mistakes and keep learning. But people with fixed mindset believe that, well, people's ability is fixed. So you cannot improve your performance from your learning, from your experience. So when there are failures in your performance, it actually indicates your lack of ability. So that is the basic differences.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Well, then we have one behavioral challenge left. Well, that's a whole set of sub-challenges, I guess. It's about the social context. So I don't know whether you want to mention them all. Maybe you can pick the most important ones.
I can briefly talk about this. So, well, auditors are not alone in this technology transformation process, and many other parties are also concerned and needed in this process. So such as the supervisors in the audit firm, the data specialists, audit committees, and others such as regulators. So I think multiple efforts are needed to solve those previously mentioned challenges in auditors' ADA practice to fully motivate the appropriate application of professional skepticism.
Yeah.
Let's keep it brief.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so that's probably what do you have to add anything from the MAB publication? Maybe, what are the wise lessons, the takeaways you would suggest for practitioners, for example, from this overview?
Well, one aim of this paper is to inform the audit practice about the potential behavior challenges to professional skepticism when using ADA. So I think those are the potential issues of the ADA that auditors should be aware of. So for example, they should be aware of the importance of their attitude, their mindsets, and also be aware of the potential effects of data characteristics on their judgment. But since this is on a literature review and extant literature on ADA is still limited, I think I should be careful when talking about the takeaways for practice. So I think first, more research is needed to understand ADA and also to explore approaches of mitigating potential challenges created by ADA. And I think as researchers, we would like to learn more about what are the difficulties or challenges that practitioners are experiencing right now in their ADA practice. And by working together, we can help to fully utilize the benefits of ADA to practice and finally to make the practice better.
Yeah. Okay, well, part of these studies we can do will be done by you, I guess. So, so maybe you can tell a bit about what your plans are for the studies and your dissertation. I think you're working on your first study now, but maybe you already have ideas about the other studies as well. So maybe you can tell a bit about what you're planning to do.
So for the broad topic of my PhD dissertation, I want to focus on ADA and its effect on professional skepticism. And for my first project, we are interested in whether auditors' involvement in the development of ADA will influence their professional skepticism when using those ADA. So there we argue that when auditors use the ADA that they developed themselves compared with the ADA they inherited from others, so developed by others, they are more likely to feel the sense of ownership and hence to perceive the responsibility to those ADA. Therefore, if there are evidence inconsistencies identified by the ADA, they are more likely to more thoroughly investigate. So that is the application of professional skepticism. So for my second project, we were developing the proposal now. So the basic idea is to investigate the population testing and its effect on auditors' use of external evidence, because we expect that the population testing compared with sample testing, although it increases the evidence sufficiency, but such an increase is mainly from the internal data instead of external data. But due to this increased sufficiency, it may reduce auditors' search for evidence in general, also including the external evidence. So that is kind of a negative effect, or we call it the unintended consequence of population testing. I haven't got some specific idea for my third project. So yeah, I'm still working.
Yeah, okay. Because you're only working on it for 1 year now, right?
Yeah, but FAR requires me to submit the second and third proposal by this year. So okay. I think I need to work on it very soon.
Okay. Do you already have some results from the first study? Or?
Well, we are at the pilot stage, so we are still waiting for the results from pilots. So sorry, unfortunately, I cannot share some results, but I hope I can very soon.
No, okay. Yeah, I also read the literature review for the first study. I was wondering one thing, and I think you said something about it at the beginning of the podcast. That if you save time in the initial phase forming a judgment, then you will have more time left to do more detailed stuff. But it would also be possible to think I may just make the whole audit more efficient, and I do less in the judgment phase, or more in the judgment phase, and I can do less. I will be more efficient in the judgment phase, and then I also do less in the phase that follows. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. So you mean
it now looks that you want to absorb the whole fee, but it might not be necessary if you use ADA, for example.
Well, I think, you are right. It is possible that ADA will make the whole audit, including the judgment and the action, both more efficient, right? So this is your argument.
Yeah.
But we think with ADA, since more and more data can be included in the audit testing, also more evidence inconsistencies are likely to be identified. So it makes the skeptical judgment stage more efficient because the identification of those evidence inconsistencies becomes faster, but that leaves more evidence inconsistencies that wait to be investigated. So in that sense, the skeptical action actually becomes more complex.
Mm-hmm.
So we cannot expect that auditors will just make it more efficient and do not shift their time saved at skeptical judgment. But instead, they are expected to shift their time and effort from skeptical judgment to skeptical action to more thoroughly investigate the inconsistencies identified.
Isn't that a research question in itself?
I think it's more like an empirical question, right? Yeah. With archival data, I think it will be an interesting question, but with experiments, I don't think we can do that. But
you only want to do experiments?
I'm not sure. At least for my first two projects, I already framed them to be experiments. So maybe I will try some other methods with my third project.
Because if you have access to the data now using FAR firms, well, just an idea. Okay, I think we discussed all the things that we wanted to discuss. Did we forget anything? Do you want to add something, Xiaoxing?
No, I think it looks very good. Yeah, we have covered all the.
Okay, and I will add the link to your project on the FAR page and also to the MAB article, so people can look that up if they want to get more details.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, then I want to thank you for participating, and we're curious what the results are. Thank you very much.
Thank you.